touchdown, South Point Stallion.
At 7 p.m., the law offices of Wilkerson, Jones, and Wilkerson present 5-time state champion Northwestern versus 8-time state champion Dutch Fork.
Touchdown, Northwestern Trojans.
At 8:30, it's 5-time state champion Rock Hill versus Hunter Huss.
Touchdown, Rock Hill Bearcats.
Tickets are $10 in advance and available at footballcityusa.kickoff.com. While at the game, take your chance to win free cash as part of the Founders Federal Credit Union Kick for Cash. The WRHI Football City USA Kickoff, powered by Champion Services, is brought to you by
KFC, Rock Hill Coca-Cola, Nichols Store, Burns Chevrolet Cadillac, Rhett Rutland State Farm, and James River Equipment.
We'll see you August 16th at Rock Hill's District 3 Stadium.
Fox News. I'm Chris Foster. The Supreme Court upholds a federal ban on firearms for people under restraining orders to stay away from a spouse or partner. It's an 8-1 vote with Justice Clarence Thomas dissenting. A federal judge in Florida is hearing arguments over special counsel Jack Smith having been illegally appointed to prosecute former President Trump.
They believe that since special counsel Jack Smith's appointment was unconstitutional, he can't prosecute Trump in this case, therefore it should be thrown out. However, several courts have rejected similar or near identical challenges regarding other special counsels in the past. And because of that, Judge Eileen Cannon, who was appointed by Trump back in 2020, is facing some criticism for slow-walking the case and seemingly delaying the trial past the November election.
Fox's Jeff Paul in Fort Pierce, Florida. America's listening to Fox News.
In the News Center, I'm Stephen Stone. It was a historic day yesterday for the Catawba Indian Nation and Luby Tribe. At a historic signing, they made official a document called the Government-to-Government Principles of Agreement. It will act like a modern-day treaty between the two tribal nations. They're hoping to be closer in partnership, more successful, and continue their established history for the next 7 generations. The U.S. recognized the Lumbee in 1956, with state recognition in 1885. During early times of migration, ancestors to the Lumbee tribe, the Chirraw, often traveled and stayed for extended time periods in the Catawba homeland in South Carolina. And a black congressman from South Carolina is blaming disinformation for President Biden's poll numbers slipping among black voters. Recent polling suggests that former President Trump could attract up to 1/5 of black voters in November. When asked about the poll numbers on MSNBC Wednesday, South Carolina Democratic Congressman Jim Clyburn said, quote, "This is all about misinformation, disinformation, miscommunication, and the media was repeating these things rather than reporting what's actually happening," end of quote.
WRHI Rock Hill, W261CY Rock Hill. Good Pharmacy, Rock Hill's hometown pharmacy for over 60 years. Camden Avenue at Ebenezer Road. Straight Talk on WRHI FM 100.1 and CN2 is presented by Founders Federal Credit Union. Relax, you're with Founders. Now here's Manning Kimmel broadcasting live from Substation 2 on Cherry Road in Rock Hill with Straight Talk, selected by the South Carolina Broadcasters Association as the state's top public affairs program.
And back we are here for another edition of our Straight Talk program. I am Tyler Cupp, filling in for Manning Kimmel, who has the day off. Straight Talk, of course, broadcast live right here at Substation 2, Cherry Road across from Winthrop. And they're brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. Relax, you're with Founders. And by Comporium with us today, your friendly neighborhood tech giant. Also with us today is Good Pharmacy, your hometown pharmacy, Ebenezer Road and Camden Avenue in Rock Hill. And with us today is Piedmont Medical Center, a community built on care, PiedmontMedicalCenter.com. With us is a familiar face to OTS Media and WRHI. She is a frequent guest on Palmetto Mornings on 100.1, and that is Jennifer Sandler of Historic Rock Hill. Good afternoon, Jennifer.
Good afternoon, Tyler. Thanks for having me.
You know, it's funny, you've been with Historic Rock Hill for a couple years, but you have the monthly segment there at Palmetto Mornings, and when I was producing in the mornings, I would always see you. We never really talked. The last 20 minutes is the most we've talked in 3 years.
It's so true. You've kind of been behind a screen.
Right.
Yes.
But we were getting to know each other. But as we always do on Straight Talk, we try to reconnect for those that may not know, listening for the first time, or getting reacquainted. So tell the folks about who Jennifer Sandler is.
Oh, Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, I'd like to say hi to Manning out there, and I hope that he is recovering well. And also my other gym buddies at the Y, like Bulldog. I hope he's doing well too. Manning will know what I'm talking about. So who is Jennifer Sandler? So I was born and raised in Charlotte, North Carolina, and have lived in Rock Hill for over 9 years now. And I went to Queens for my undergrad in international studies, and then I did a master's degree in Germany in global studies. So I think it's really interesting that here I am working at such a kind of a micro level at Historic Rock Hill, thinking about local history. But I've been with Historic Rock Hill for 3 years, and I'm the executive director, and I love it. It's such a wonderful organization, and I get to meet wonderful people, wonderful members, and get to do really exciting things all day long.
So let's talk about Historic Rock Hill, the organization, what it is. For folks that don't know, kind of take me through what the basis, what the reasoning for Historic Rock Hill is.
Okay, so Historic Rock Hill was founded over 30 years ago by a group of community members who wanted to save historic homes from demolition. So they banded together to form Historic Rock Hill to purchase homes, renovate them, and then resell them. And then when the White Home came on the market in 2005, they raised a lot of capital to be able to purchase the home and renovate it over the course of a few years. So that is when Historic Rock Hill really came into being as it is today. So we own and operate the historic White Home right there on White Street. And we do a lot of historic programmings, and we also rent out the White Home for weddings and special events.
Well, and I think when people think Historic Rock Hill that aren't from here or have only lived here a couple years, they think Historic Rock Hill is immediately associated with the White Home, and that's all they think it is. But obviously there's so much more to Historic Rock Hill. So
yes.
Are there other venues that you guys have? Kind of take me through the rest of the city with what you guys kind of want to feature.
Okay, so I will say that since we own and operate the White Home, it really does take up a lot of our time and energy. So we don't do the historic renovations that we used to do. So our main focus at this point really is the White Home,
okay.
And kind of maintaining that and running it as an event venue. But we try to get out of the White Home too. So we do a lot of historic programming. We do walking tours. We do lecture series. We do just all sorts of community historical events. So all sorts of history. So we like to, just be as inclusive as possible when it comes to history.
So a lot of events we want to talk about here, a lot of things that are going on with Historic Rock Hill. But I want to start off with a conversation we had briefly, and I kind of stopped myself because I want to do it on the air, and that is the historical markers. And take me through the beginning of when we were discussing how people, I guess organizations like Historic Rock Hill are trying to kind of veer away from looking at this person was here. They want to look at more of the history of the actual property itself. Is that right?
So I don't think it's not our policy. It seems to be the state's policy when it comes to historic markers. So we were just mentioning earlier in our conversation that the South Carolina Department of Archives and History is responsible for all of the state historic markers, and it seems like they're moving away from commemorating a particular person and moving toward areas, maybe houses or buildings, structures, and trying to situate them in a historical context. So less so about a specific person, because as we know, people, maybe we uncover things about them that aren't so great, and we, so they're moving away from commemorating people on historic markers.
And you told me the process for making a historical marker. Kind of take me through that. Seems like it's quite the process of, I don't know if necessarily approved is the right word or verbiage, but basically going through that entire time of, all right, this happened here, or this property is known for this, and there's a number of, I hate to use the term hoops, but I guess things you have to do to make sure it's recognized as a proper historical marker.
Yeah, so I'll start with, so we have a preservation committee at Historic Rock Hill, and it's made up of local historians and community members who are very involved in local history and are very interested in it. And so our preservation committee meets, and we have a rubric for determining different facets of which historical markers should be prioritized. So once we decide on a historic marker, we our group does the research on that to provide to the South Carolina Department of Archives and History. And we send that down. There's an application fee, and they look it all over, and they do their own research, and they kind of corroborate facts, and they determine the verbiage that is placed on the historic marker. And then they send it back to us, and we look it over, and we say that sounds good, or maybe we should add this piece here that isn't mentioned, or maybe take that out. But ultimately, they write what's on the actual historic marker. So they send that back to us, and once we approve it, then we send it out to be fabricated. So it goes, I think it's Ohio, if I'm remembering correctly. There's an organization called Siwa Studios that actually fabricates the metal historic markers. They're pretty expensive, and so once it's approved, then that verbiage gets sent to Siwa Studios, and they actually fabricate it and send it back. So it's, there's a long line of organizations that have historic markers in the queue, so to speak. So, we try to do 2 or 3 a year, and, other organizations throughout the state are doing the same thing. So it takes a while. It's certainly a process.
Interesting. All right, so a number of events we want to look at, and some of the ways you guys feature the White Home and feature historic Rock Hill. First thing I saw on your website was actually this summer speaker series, which I guess goes through the next 3 months. So tell me about the summer speaker series.
Yeah, so this is just an idea that we had to kind of bring everybody. We have a really close community of members at Historic Rock Hill. So if you're interested in becoming a member, check out our website, historicrockhill.com. But it's a way to get our members together over the generally very quiet summer months. So this Thursday, we have our first event coming up, Pat Grant. So if you're familiar with Pat Grant, she's a local historian. She's one of my favorite people. She wrote a book on Hamilton Carhart and Rock Hill. She's written a book about the founding families of Rock Hill at Laurelwood Cemetery. And so she's actually going to be presenting this coming Thursday on June 27th at 6:30 about the evolution of the new acquisition, the long and fascinating road to becoming York County, South Carolina. So I can't speak to the entire history of the state line, but from what I understand, it's kind of changed over the course of, a couple hundred years or so. So Pat is going to go into detail on that. So
now, when you say state line, you mean South Carolina state line? Interesting.
So
okay.
I think, kind of where York County butts up against Mecklenburg County.
I see.
So,
okay.
Part of this was North Carolina, and then it was South Carolina, and so there's just a complicated history there. So it'll be interesting to learn more about that. But we have 3 other dates after that. All sorts of really fun and interesting events. So we have Stephen Turner will present his popular postcard history of Rock Hill, South Carolina. So he's collected a lot of, I guess they're old postcards, and so he'll kind of talk about the growth of Rock Hill through these picture postcards. So.
We just had audio of him this week talking about the Freedom Walkway local hero nominations list, which I think goes through June 28th. If you have any folks that you want to nominate, I imagine that Historic Rock Hill also kind of has a play in there with the Freedom Walkway. And
I'm actually on that committee.
There you go.
Exactly.
And the history of the city and whatnot, and how those two things are intertwined, obviously.
For sure. So we obviously like to support all of these initiatives, kind of bringing history into the forefront of people's minds, and obviously commemorating the people who deserve to be commemorated.
Okay, so we've got Miss Grant, we've got Stephen Turner. Who else we got later on this fall?
So we have, I believe that I actually, to be perfectly honest, I don't remember who is going to be speaking for the third event in August. We're going to be talking about the evolution of Rock Hill schools. We are finalizing that, so I will be back with more information. But then again in September, Stephen Turner will be speaking on the Levy D's story. I don't know if you are familiar with that. It's a really interesting story about a farmer who kind of fought the bleachery because his livestock was being poisoned and his land was being contaminated. And so this was, this was about 100 years ago that this happened. So it's a really interesting story, kind of David versus Goliath historical event. So it's pretty interesting. So that's another one. So there's more information on our website, so historicrockhill.com. We are also on Instagram and Facebook. But like I said, we'll have, if you come out to one of these events, we'll have some drinks and some just some really good fellowship and, be able to learn something new.
And how does that work? Are those free registration?
So there is registration. There are tickets that we're selling. And so just go online and check that out.
Very good. All right, so we have a couple of tours I want to get into. Let's first start with the historic home tour. Now, obviously, I'd imagine with you guys, it starts with the White Home and then kind of everything after that. So take me through the historic home tour and what that looks like for Historic Rock Hill.
Sure. So this is also something that we are finalizing the details next week, but I can announce that it should be on September 8th, which is a Sunday afternoon, Sunday, September 8th. And we are lucky enough to have a sponsor for that event. That will be Chris Beard from the Compass Group at Reinhardt Realty. Will be our main key sponsor for that event. And we are, so far, the houses that we have the Gil Anderson house on Oakland Avenue. So if you're familiar with that one, it's just the beautiful white home with the turret. I mean, it's just a beautiful home. So we'll be able to go inside there. The White Home, obviously, is part of this tour. The Barnes House on Main Street will be part of that. The McCorkle Fuel Longhouse on College Avenue. So friends of ours, Punt and John Presto, open up their home. That house is over 200 years old. So it's just, you might have seen it. It's on the corner of Sumter and College Avenue, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful home. So they're gracious enough to open up their home to us. And we might have one more house that I don't want to announce yet because it's not finalized. But we should have people there talking about some of the history of the homes. So it won't just be a looky-loo and leave. Hopefully there'll be some historical context as well.
I apologize if this is an obvious answer for those listening, but are all these homes currently owned or lived in by people, and you guys just reach out to them and say, hey, we want to do a tour of your home? Or some of these homes owned by someone that are just vacant? Are most of these lived in by people?
Okay, so it really just depends. And I realized I overlooked the Stewart House at Winthrop. So some of these are not lived in at the moment.
Okay.
So the Stewart House is, kind of an office space at Winthrop, but it's, an old home. The Barnes House, I don't believe has anybody living in it. It's from the Barnes family from Comporium.
Yeah.
But the Gil Anderson house is currently occupied, and I know that the Prestos live in there, the McCorkle Fuel Long house on College Avenue.
So is it just as simple as you guys calling the folks that own these houses, like, hey, we'd like to do a historic tour and
pretty much
feature your home and tie it to Historic Rock Hill organization? Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, I think so. Just forming those connections and knowing who to contact and making sure that it's well organized so that we have volunteers in the home, so nothing happens inside the home that we don't need happening, and making that case that this is for a good cause for Historic Rock Hill, which is a nonprofit, and we'll be selling tickets soon. So yeah, it really is just making those connections, and the Prestos are members of Historic Rock Hill. Walter Hardin, I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, great guy. He is related to the Andersons, and so he is, so he's related to the Andersons, and he, has those connections. He's also our board member.
And I imagine the tours are pretty detailed in that this is why this is here, and this is why it was built this way. And I imagine there's like a story to a lot of the different rooms and whatnot.
Absolutely. And so, in some of these homes, who lived there? Why were they built? Who had the money and the resources to build such a grand home at that time? And so it really is. There are a lot of really interesting stories that come out of these homes.
So you also have a downtown church tour. So tell me about this.
Okay, so that will be we're finalizing the date on that one, but that will be in September or October of this year. but we've got quite a few downtown churches already on board. So we have St. John's, we've got First ARP, First Presbyterian, the Episcopal Church downtown, and Freedom Ministries. And so it'll be one ticket, and you'll be able to go inside the church and learn more from the church historians there. So it's a pretty short walk in between all of those spaces, but it's the first time that we've done something like that. So, but those churches are such foundational pieces in downtown. So to know more about their history and when did they start and why do they look the way that they do, I think should be really fascinating.
When you talk about homes and churches, for obvious reasons, homes have evolved so much more than churches, but even with the churches, there's still a major history to that and uniqueness to how the churches were constructed, even though the inside you still have your pews, you still have your entrances and whatnot and how it looks. But always fascinated when you go into older churches and just kind of look at how they're constructed. Yeah, and they're all so unique and so beautiful in their own ways. So yeah, it should be a really neat opportunity to be able to see inside kind of the foundational churches downtown. All right, it's time now for our mid-program break, and want to remind you that you are listening to Straight Talk, broadcast live on Substation 2, Cherry Road across from Winthrop, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. Relax, you're with Founders. I can't find the shirt, but you guys know how it is. Substation 2 creates fresh subs and salads 6 days a week, but how do they do it? 3, 2, 1, slice, slice, slice. Garden, garden, garden. Back with more after this.
If it's 12:30, it's Straight Talk on WRHI and CN2.
Have you ever wondered why so many people enjoy dining at Substation 2?
Love the bread. Number 19's the best.
Fresh, delicious bread.
It's fresh.
The food is really good, and it's a great price.
I'm Charlie Ruffalo, and I guarantee you'll feel the same way after eating here at Substation 2, Cherry Road across from Winthrop.
We hope you'll choose The Nest to deliver your newest bundle of joy. The Nest is a new labor and delivery recovery postpartum unit at Piedmont Medical Center, Fort Mill, working to make your pregnancy and childbirth experience as easy and enjoyable as possible. Our physicians and nursing staff at Piedmont are dedicated to giving expectant mothers the maternity care they want and need. Learn more at PiedmontMedicalCenter.com. Piedmont Medical Center, a community built on care.
When disaster strikes, one of the most important things is getting life back to normal. A little compassion can go a long way. Paul Davis is here for you. Paul Davis is committed to handling any property damage with exceptional care because what we do is about more than property. It's about people. We have the training and expertise necessary to completely restore your property fast. For all your cleanup and restoration needs, call the experts at Paul Davis Restoration at 329-1140 or find us online at pauldavisrockhill.com.
When you're getting a bundle from Comporium, you're getting an all-seeing, all-knowing personal security detail. You're getting shows, and oh yeah, more shows. You're getting a social calendar filled with family game time, game day get-togethers, and don't worry, we saved you a spot on the couch parties because we're not just your internet company. We're your yes to all of the above company.
Relax this summer with a promotional rate on select travel purchases with your Founders Federal Credit Union credit card. Now through August 31st, get 6.99% APR for 6 months on qualifying purchases, including airfare, hotels, restaurants, and cruise lines. Don't let interest rates slow you down this summer. Visit foundersfcu.com/travel to learn more. On March 1st, 2025, the promotional APR will revert to the effective APRs previously disclosed. Call 800-845-1614 for details about credit costs and terms. Membership qualification required.
There are lots of reasons why people like dining at Substation 2.
A good deal for a delicious sandwich.
Quality of the food. I get what I want. It tastes great every time.
Hit the spot, definitely. It's amazing.
I'm Charlie Ruffalo, and I guarantee you'll feel the same way after eating here at Substation 2, Cherry Road across from Winthrop.
Straight Talk on WRHI FM 100.1 and CN2 is brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. Relax, you're with Founders.
And back we are here at our Straight Talk program, broadcast live from Substation 2, Cherry Road, across from Winthrop, brought to you by friends at Founders Federal Credit Union. Relax your with Founders, and by Comborium, your friendly neighborhood tech giant. Here with Jennifer Sandler, the Executive Director of Historic Rock Hill. I'm Tyler Cupp, filling in for Manning Kimmel, who has the day off. And Jennifer, we have a list of things. We want to hit big, bang, boom, and then we have the big finish, which is the big fundraiser. So I want to save that for last. But you mentioned Christmasville is something you want to talk about, and Historic Rock Hill getting involved with that. So how are you guys doing that?
Yeah, so we are really excited to partner with Christmasville again this year. We're going to switch it up a little bit. We are going to be doing a festival of trees at the White Home. So if you're interested in being a sponsor for a tree or a wreath, or I think even a mantle, is how we're going to structure it, just let us know. I think that we're just going to have some really beautiful trees that are going to be donated. People are going to be able to buy them on site. And I think the White Home is just going to be absolutely beautifully adorned with Christmas decorations. And so that's one of the events that we'll have. And then on the Saturday of Christmasville, we're going to be participating in part of Christmasville After Dark. So it's kind of more of an adult-focused event.
It's a cool name.
Yeah, exactly. So I think from my understanding of it, we will the White Home will be one of the event locations, and we'll have some sort of a drink, an alcoholic beverage of some sort, and either an appetizer or a dessert. And there'll be a passport that people will get, and they'll go to different restaurants and bars in the downtown area, and just be able to sample different food and drink. And I think if you complete the passport, you get some sort of a prize. So we will be part of that on that Saturday of Christmasville. But it sounds really fun. So I know most of the daily events are focused toward families and families with kids, but this will be kind of more of an upscale adult event. So that should be really exciting.
Tell me about the Pottery Festival.
Okay, so this is a new one for us. So we've done craft fairs in the past, but I have a few friends who are potters and just really need to find venues to sell their beautiful works. And so I thought we would have an event at the White Home where we invite all local potters, the pottery students at Winthrop, and all over the region, and bring them to the White Home to learn more about the pottery process and the history of pottery. I would love to have Catawba potters there as well, and just so that people can set up and sell their wares, and pottery lovers, they can come and just look at all these beautiful creations. So that will be in November, November the 3rd. In the afternoon. So there'll be more information on that soon, but it should be just a really cool event. So really just focusing in on, the people who are making pottery.
And speaking of events, of course, the White Home, I'm sure, stays pretty booked for weddings and events, but I'm sure you have openings and availability, and that's a big thing that you guys push, because that kind of helps you guys do what you do at Historic Rock Hill.
Absolutely. So all of the weddings and events at the White Home support our mission, and our mission is to actually preserve and promote the collective history of Rock Hill, South Carolina. So having events at the White Home help us keep the lights on and the air conditioning bills paid, but they also, in the broader scheme, help us to promote our mission to preserve the history of Rock Hill. So
one of my favorite events that I've been to at the White Home is the Savor the Flavors with Max Abilities, and
yes,
just a well-run event, and always nice to kind of go in and out and check out the home and whatnot. It's really nice.
Yeah, so we like you said, we still have some dates available for this year. So I know there's a prime date, the second week of October. So if you are thinking about it, give us a call, check out our website, and we can get you set up. But it's just a beautiful location. We've got a fountain, we've got a beautiful historic home, and lots of green, over 3 acres of green space right in the heart of Old Town. Just the perfect venue to have any type of event, really.
Well, they used to say wedding season was in the spring, but I feel like people have weddings all year round. I mean, I feel like the fall has now become kind of a trendy wedding thing now.
So the fall is usually our busiest season.
Really? Okay.
So the spring as well, but honestly, with climate change, people are able to get. I mean, November is not cold anymore, so you can get married in November and and December, and we have a couple of slow months, usually in January and February, but it's a great time to have a micro wedding inside or a corporate event inside. So basically, we're available all year round.
Very good. All right, so the big finish, the Oyster Roast fundraiser coming in October. That is the biggie. That's the biggest fundraiser you guys have all year round. And again, this helps do what you guys do at Historic Rock Hill. It helps make you guys go round.
Yes. So our Oyster Roast, if you haven't been, it is really just a premier fall event for Rock Hill. So last year we had close to 400 people at the event.
Wow.
And again, we have 3 acres of green space, so it never felt crowded, but it felt really festive, and we have lots of market lights outside, and it's just a really fabulous event. We have a silent auction, we have live music, we have all-you-can-eat oysters. We have a southern barbecue buffet with desserts. We have all you can drink in terms of beer and wine and soft drinks.
You got me.
And
listening.
Sleeping Giant Distillery was on hand last year. They served up a mixed drink cocktail with they actually crafted a rum for the oyster roast. It was an oyster roast specialty flavor of rum, which was really delicious. So it's just, like I said, just a premier fall event. Tickets will be on sale soon.
Okay.
But we're also looking for sponsors for that event. So if you or your business might be interested, it really is a great way to be out there in the community and be in front of 400 movers and shakers in Rock Hill. So it really is just, and I really do mean this, like it really is a spectacular event, and the feedback that I hear is just overwhelmingly just so positive, and people look forward to it all year.
I got like 2 minutes here. What do you think it is about South Carolina and having fundraisers that involve oysters and barbecue? It seems like there's one in every community, every county. Like, where I came from in Camden, Kershaw County, they had oysters and barbecue, which supported the community medical clinic, and it was very similar, 400 to 500 people. And that was their biggest thing year-round. And I know there's other communities that have that oyster event. What do you think it is? I guess oysters is obviously there's only one peak time to eat them, and I guess that's kind of centered around that.
And I think you need the buffet, the barbecue, because not everybody loves oysters.
Right.
So you've got to have something else, and those two seem to go really well together. But I don't know. I like oysters, but I'm not a There's some people that arrive with They're shuckers, and they're ready to go, and you can't peel them away from the table. But I am not one of those people. I like them, but I would rather have a plate of barbecue.
What's one thing you want to tell somebody that is learning about Historic Rock Hill for the first time? 10 seconds. What would you tell them?
So a lot of people think that we are associated with the city of Rock Hill, but we are not. We don't get any city funding, and so we rely on people renting the White Home and on donations. So check us out online, and we'd love to see you at our upcoming events.
Very good. Good job. Jennifer Sandler, Executive Director of Historic Rock Hill. And that is it for us this week and today. Straight Talk broadcast live from Substation 2, Cherry Road across from Winthrop. They make fresh subs and salads 6 days a week, but they do it with a special ingredient. How do they do it? 3, 2, 1. Slice, slice, slice. Garden, garden, garden. We'll be back on Monday. Have a great weekend.
South Carolina's most honored radio station. News Talk 100.1 WRHI Rock Hill. W261CY Rock Hill. The voice of York County.
An OTS media station.